Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Sip&Talkers, and welcome back. We are about to dive deep into a kind of language that is designed not to communicate, but to survive.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter what time zone you're in, welcome back to Sip&Talk.
Hey, have you noticed how popular this Chinese diplomatic rhetoric has become online recently?
I have. It's all over my feed.
It's that kind of art, you know? You ask what's for dinner, and they start talking about global food security.
Right, or you ask why they were late, and they bring up respecting each other's temporal sovereignty.
Exactly. This whole read and reply randomly art form is like, it's a savior for anyone with social anxiety.
It really is. And you know, it's funny you mentioned that because in academia, we might actually call this strategic ambiguity or maybe issue deflection.
Oh, so it has a formal name.
It does. I was reading a piece in Foreign Policy that observed how these responses are usually designed to maintain this kind of facade of a moral high ground.
Oh, without touching the actual core interests, right? So while it might seem really rigid in, international politics, applying it to life's little pressure tests, well, it definitely offers a kind of defensive humor. Let's see what we can learn.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to basically break down this whole ghost answering framework.
Right. It's about gracefully avoiding those dangerous questions without starting an outright conflict.
And we're going to look at the two main strategies, right? Then we'll check out some real-world examples, and then, and this is the important part, talk about the massive trade-offs of actually trying this in your personal life.
Yes, please do not try all of this at home. So let's start with the first approach. We can call it the redirect and fog strategy.
The classic read but reply randomly style.
Perfect, is where you just substitute specific answers for these grand, sweeping pronouncements.
Yeah, and this is the one you see most often at press conferences. A journalist asks a really direct, challenging question, something that demands a specific commitment.
Like the classic one, why doesn't China condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine, given its firm stance on national sovereignty? That's a yes or no question, really.
Totally. But the response, it completely bypasses the core of the question. Instead of talking about condemning, the official launches into this long recitation of principles.
The motherhood and apple pie statements, as they say.
Exactly. You'll hear things like, we uphold sovereignty and territorial integrity, we adhere to the UN Charter, we promote peace talks.
And we decide our position based on the merits of the matter itself.
Yes. And the logic, or maybe the frustration of it, is that the response is just a list of things everyone agrees are good. It's a value declaration, but it completely fails to address the actual question that was asked.
It gives the illusion of a reply without any of the substance.
It's pure deflection.
Okay, so let's try to apply this.
Yeah.
How would this play out in, say, a relationship test?
Oh, this is a good one. Okay, scenario. Your girlfriend asks if you were just looking at your ex's social media.
Oof. A dangerous question.
A very dangerous question. Now, the diplomatic reply would involve respecting past relationships and prioritizing the current one, all while demanding rational communication to prevent misunderstandings.
So you never actually answer yes or no?
Never. You just create a fog of principles. Or how about at work? Your boss asks why your report is 3 days late.
Instead of an excuse, you pivot. You talk about the department's unwavering commitment to quality, the importance of long-term stability, and maximizing overall corporate interests.
You've created a defensive fog, but, that only works if the other person values the platitudes more than an actual answer.
Which brings us to strategy 2. This one's a lot less subtle.
Yeah, we're calling this one delegitimize and dismiss. Or, my personal favorite, the dimensionality reduction attack.
That sounds aggressive.
It is. It's basically the rhetorical equivalent of just throwing the questioner out of the room. Here, a direct accusation is met with these highly personalized, dismissive attacks.
Like calling the source scum or a petty individual.
Or a clownish performance. Or, my favorite, declaring the whole thing unworthy of mention.
So what's the logic there? I mean, why not just defend your position?
Because the strategy isn't to refute the question, it's to attack the legitimacy of the person asking it. By labeling them as hostile or malicious, you strip the question of its right to even get an answer.
You're saying it doesn't deserve a response.
Exactly. You've achieved non-refutation. You haven't proven the accusation is false, you've just declared it exists in a dimension beneath you.
Wow, that is a power move. Okay, let's bring this one to life. A friend calls you out. They saw you at a club after you promised you'd quit drinking.
Okay, the diplomatic reply. This malicious speculation is completely irresponsible speech that causes a negative impact on my personal image and is unworthy of mention.
You just delegitimize your friend's eyeballs.
Totally. Or at work, your supervisor points out your quarterly KPIs dropped by 20%. A hard number.
The reply. A question based on such a numbers game fundamentally lacks professional value and is unworthy of mention. You attack the entire system of measurement.
It takes some serious confidence.
It might also lead to a quick trip to HR. But what's really fascinating is seeing how this rhetoric holds up when it meets, actual verifiable failures.
Oh yeah, it can lead to some real absurdity. We saw this play out in early 2026. The Venezuela defense system flop comes to mind.
Let's get into that, because the gap between the rhetoric and the reality was just stark. So a reporter asks, why did the Chinese-made air defense systems, specifically that JY-27 anti-stealth radar, why did it fail completely during a U.S. military action? I mean, this is a catastrophic product failure.
Right. It was a direct, technical, why did your product not work question. And what did they do?
A perfect strategy one. A redirect and fog. The spokesperson completely sidestepped the technical failure and leaped into this broad moralizing.
What did they say again?
Something like, we firmly support the peace zone status of Latin America and the Caribbean and oppose bullying through the use of force.
That's just chaotic. They sold faulty equipment, and when it failed, they pivoted to a lecture on anti-bullying.
The gap between the question and answer became an international joke.
And it wasn't a one-off thing, was it? We saw it again in late 2025 with those military exercises. They claimed dozens of nations were supporting them.
When in reality, support was minimal. If anything, they got widespread condemnation.
But they just kept repeating the line. If reality doesn't match the talking points, you don't change the talking points. You just say them louder.
It's like saying the sky is green and anyone who disagrees is a hostile foreign force. Which kind of brings us to the Photoshop failures.
Ugh. The drone over Taipei 101.
Which turned out to be this really poorly done synthetic image. An attempt to show muscle that just became an international punchline.
And the response. Strategy 2. Dismiss the critique as malicious foreign media slander.
So let's put our analyst hats on for a second. Why does this system of avoidance and denial actually work, even when it's so obviously absurd?
Okay, so we've got the formal terms. Strategic ambiguity, issue deflection, source delegitimization. But according to some analysis I read in the New York Times, the core psychological goal, especially with strategy 2, is one word: devaluation.
Devaluation of what exactly?
Of the questioner. And of the critique itself. It's a power display by saying, this is unworthy of mention, or by giving a 5-minute speech on peace for a yes or no question.
You're communicating that you're too high status to engage.
Exactly. My principles are too grand for your trivial details. The official isn't arguing against the facts. They're arguing against your right to even ask.
And that must wear people down over time. Yeah. I mean, what are the long-term effects on the questioner?
Well, there are 3 predictable outcomes. First, you start to doubt yourself. You think, maybe I was too aggressive.
Then you start self-censoring. You decide it's just not worth the fight to ask again.
Right. And then, the third effect, the problem just disappears from the conversation. The issue itself is never solved, but it's effectively frozen. The official has successfully outsourced their problem to your exhaustion.
And to zoom out, The Economist has pointed out that this whole wolf warrior style is less about actually convincing the outside world.
And more about projecting strength internally.
Exactly. It's for the domestic audience. It shows them that officials are unyielding, managing political risk at home, even if they look a bit absurd abroad.
So we've established it's a pretty optimized system for, national self-preservation. It's a linguistic bulletproof vest.
And this is the big pivot for you listening. What happens when you decide to wear that vest every single day in your own life?
Yeah, the style is definitely not everyday wear. It comes with some really serious relationship-destroying side effects.
The most immediate one has to be trust erosion.
Oh, for sure. If your partner asks you about a debt and you consistently reply with platitudes about fiscal prudence, they're just going to conclude you're being dishonest. The relationship degrades from trust to political negotiation.
And then there's problem freezing. Real-life issues don't just vanish into the fog. The debt is still there. The deadline is still missed.
And you force the other person to escalate just to get a straight answer.
Right. You also suffer a loss of predictability. People can't trust you if your answers are always random. You become seen as unreliable and just difficult.
And maybe the worst part is the self-stagnation. If you start believing that all criticism is unworthy of mention, You just stop growing. You can't face hard truths.
You end up living in your own little rhetorical bubble.
Which is really the ultimate takeaway here. This analysis isn't meant to teach you imitation. It's about teaching identification.
Recognizing when language is being used as a responsibility avoidance project versus genuine communication.
So, in summary, diplomats use these words for national interest.
And we might use them for social self-preservation.
Exactly. And you know, our show, Sip&Talk, has always wanted to convey this. Looking at the world can be fun, but being a person requires sincerity. Humor is the best defense against an absurd world, but sincerity is the only key to someone's heart.
So everyone, listen, laugh, and learn that calm attitude of not easily provoked. As for all those phrases, maybe let's just leave them to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs press conferences.
Today's discussion is just about wrapped up. But since you said sincerity is the only key, can you now genuinely tell me which restaurant you're treating me to after the recording?
Regarding the choice of restaurant, we always maintain an open attitude and are willing to maintain communication with your side regarding the relevant details.
See? There he goes again.
So think about that the next time someone offers you a long-winded principle when all you needed was a simple yes or no.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive. And don't forget to subscribe to the Sip&Talk podcast. And definitely check out our old friend Mickey's YouTube channel, Mickey to Life, for some amazing memes and his latest travel vlog.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.